Our next high-profile guest is Diego Mesa, the Minister of Mines and Energy of Colombia, the country that has set an ambitious goal of becoming the leader of energy transition in Latin America. As Colombia's Deputy Energy Minister between 2018 and 2020, he co-led the design and implementation of the country's energy transition policy, including increasing the share of variable renewable energy from 1% to 12%. Minister Mesa is joining us live from Bogota. Welcome to Davos Energy Week.
Good morning, good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be here and looking very much forward to have this conversation, and I'm honored to be with you today.
The Latin America energy community has called Colombia the regional leader of energy transition. Many refer to this title thanks to your relentless efforts on launching renewable energy auctions, adopting the 2050 National Energy Plan, developing new programs on onshore and offshore wind, solar power, geothermal, and hydrogen. As a business conference, we are mainly interested in the opportunities your policies will create for investors, solution providers, project developers, and so on. So I'll start with my first question. Net zero 2050 is definitely a long-term and ambitious goal. Can you outline your key priorities for the coming 2 years, the measures, the policies you need to adopt to make that long-term goal achievable? Please tell us about the country's main areas of research and technology development needed to achieve your emission reduction goals.
Sure. I'll start by outlining that the first task that we did in this government to make sure that the sector was attractive to investment was to lay out a set of policies, including fiscal incentives, commercial incentives, and very clear regulatory policies to make sure that we attracted investment into the expansion of variable renewable energy. We included, for example, uplift on the deductions against corporate income tax. We make VAT automatically excluded from investments in variable renewable and energy efficiency. And this was complemented with other general policies for capital-intensive industries, such as energy in Colombia. Regarding to your question specific about what are we doing, what are the priorities, Colombia has been implementing a strategy of low carbon development, and we're now in the process of preparing our strategy under the Paris Agreement to reach net zero by 2050, as was announced by President Duque last December. This is aligned with our mitigation goal under our updated national determined contribution, which we communicated as well last December, in which we are now committing to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by 51% by 2030. Under this approach, we're using different technologies. We're continuing with expansion of renewables. We did our 2 first auctions that were successful in 2019. We're developing a new auction in 2021. And we're also now promoting new technologies for Colombia, such as hydrogen, geothermal, wind offshore, large-scale storage of energy. We're going to do the first auction this quarter in Latin America for large-scale batteries. And finally, we're also launching new policies on energy efficiency. So we're working together with the Ministry of Environment, with the Ministry of Science and Technology, and we're focusing on our efforts in research and development in these key areas. We're now starting to build our 30-year roadmap for hydrogen, which will be completed by the end of the first quarter in 2021. And we're also making modifications to our legal system to make sure that we also have incentives for investment in these new technologies.
Great. You were the first minister in Latin America to initiate renewable energy auctions from 2019. Now with these auctions, you're planning to increase the renewable energy capacity to 2.5 gigawatts by 2022. Can you reveal the details of the upcoming auctions, if any, and your plans for further development of renewable energy projects?
Sure. We have to, continue doing what has worked in the recent past. As you said, we did our first variable renewal auctions in 2019. I think it's important to mention that there were key innovations from a public policy perspective in these auctions. This was the first auction in the world for variable renewables to be a double-sided auction. That means that both sellers and buyers came together to a platform that was developed by the ministry and bid both in quantity or volume of energy and prices. We're still finalizing the design for the 2021 auction, but we realized that, for example, offering long-term PPA contracts, which were not common in Colombia, despite being very common in other countries, worked quite well. We had a 15-year PPA auction as a standard contract in 2019 that worked quite well. The other measure that we did is that we use mandatory purchase obligations for variable renewables. There was some skepticism in the community, in the energy community in Colombia at the time, because they thought this was going to increase prices. But against that expectation, we were able to reduce energy prices by 35% with the 2019 auction. So I still don't have all the details. I know there are questions from investors about currency, whether we're going to continue to maintain those PPA terms, but very likely we're going to have an auction that's similar to the auction that we did in 2019, obviously with some refinements, because we also had some lessons learned from 2019, but we're still in the process of developing, and we'll be publishing the tender in the next 2 months approximately.
This is great. Just 10 days ago, there was an announcement on Colombia and Chile joining forces to make green hydrogen a regional purpose. Before that, your national oil company also made some news about prioritizing hydrogen as a clean energy source. Can you reveal more details about your hydrogen plans in the short-term perspective?
Absolutely. So let me start by saying that we, as Chile, believe that innovation must be at the center of the country's sustainable economic development and economic recovery in the post-COVID-19 scenario. We are leading the national strategy for hydrogen, in which we believe that Colombia, which is endowed with wind resources, solar resources, and water resources, has a perfect combination of energy sources to develop not only green hydrogen, but potentially blue hydrogen as well. So the plan is to produce synthetic fuels similar to the pilots that Chile has been developing. We're working with private sector and leading academic communities in Colombia to create an environment that makes this attractive, both from an economic point of view and also from a research and development point of view. Also, we will take advantage of the high quality coal resources that we have in our country, thinking about blue hydrogen as well. Colombia is one of the leading exporters of thermic coal, but we do know that we need to combine this with some sort of carbon capture and storage and use to make sure that this hydrogen is also carbon neutral from an environmental point of view. These conditions that we think are very favorable for Colombia to produce both hydrogen and green hydrogen and blue hydrogen would also be key for our transportation sector, where we see there's huge potential, especially in mass transportation sector. Also, we have companies in Colombia that also operate in other countries in South America and Central America that has already expressed interest in taking this type of new fuels to their markets in those countries. So together with the other ministries we're working on and with our partners from a multilateral point of view, such as the Inter-American Development Bank, the German government, and also we're working to develop relations with the Australian government, we plan to have this roadmap that I mentioned before, which will be done over the next 3 months, and we'll present this to the public in Colombia and outside of Colombia to make sure that we attract the investment that we need to launch the hydrogen economy in our country.
Great. And what international partnerships, like the one you now have with Chile on hydrogen, are you seeking right now to join efforts with other countries or private corporations?
Yes. So in addition to Chile, we've developed an agenda with Germany as well. We're still in the process of formalizing the agreement. We have already signed, for example, an alliance with Siemens that's going to be a key partner for the ministry and Colombia developing the hydrogen economy. We're also finalizing an agreement with Ecopetrol, which is our national oil company, but at the same time is the biggest producer of energy distributed resources in the country, and is also very interested in developing hydrogen for its own use, but also thinking about transportation. So those are the main partners that we have at the moment. And obviously, as I mentioned, the Inter-American Development Bank, who is also financing our roadmap for hydrogen as one of our key members. We're very active as well in the World Energy Council, in the hydrogen discussions that have been held over the last few months, and we expect to continue to learn from other countries such as Argentina and Brazil in the region that are also working on developing their hydrogen roadmaps.
Great. And in your national plan, you mentioned electrification of the transport sector. What are the measures, tax incentives, and other steps you're going to take in the coming years to speed up the process?
Sure. So we've worked hard on having a national electric transportation law that was passed in 2019. This includes tax rebates for electric vehicles. It also includes commercial discounts, and it also includes exclusions from mobility restrictions that we have in Colombia, especially in the main cities in which there are some vehicles that are allowed to go into the city during a certain number of days. They're not such restrictions either. What this has done so far in 2019, Colombia ended up as the leading country with EV sales in Latin America. We were able to surpass countries like Chile and Dominican Republic that were leading the pack in previous years. In 2020, as a result of these measures, we even increased our sales by 83%. So we continue to be the leaders going forward. What we're doing now is we're developing policies to make sure that at least the official fleet from the national government, but also going down to the subnational governments, have to convert to all purchases by 2030 only electric vehicles. We're also developing policies to make sure that we have enough charging stations, not only in the cities, but also in between the cities, to make sure that people use electric vehicles, not for city transportation, but also to go from city to cities within the country.
And let's briefly talk about the upgrade of Colombia's energy grid. As many countries are doing, are you going to build decentralized energy grid based on blockchain or other technology? Can you share some of your action plans on this?
Sure. So the distributed energy resources are key for Colombia for many reasons. One, we also have a policy to have incentives for people to self-generate electricity and make sure that they can also sell those excess of electricity to the national grid. But what we're saying is that a lot of the companies, the industrial complexes, are developing the systems on site. But at the same time, Colombia, despite being a middle-income country, we still have important portion of the population without access to electricity. And one way to get to those areas that are remotely and which the national grid is not able to reach them is to have these mini grids or distributed energy resources and make sure that they have the electricity that they need. In the last 30 months of this government, we've been able to connect more than 45,000 people to electricity for the first time. Our goal is to reach 100,000 people by the end of the government, which is August 2022. And we are on track to meet those objectives. And in this case, individual solutions, microgrids, and distributed energy resources are key to our policy.
Minister Mesa, thank you for this inspiring interview and your insights. I wish you all the best in reaffirming your country's leading positions in energy transition in Latin America and beyond. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Faisal. It's been an honor. One thing that I would like to say to close is that all these policies that we've discussed here are going to help us to continue to lead regionally that RELAC goal, which we've committed as a region, which is reaching 70% of our energy matrix of renewables by 2030. We're doing this in conjunction with Chile and Costa Rica, who also are co-leading this initiative, and we look very much forward to see all the countries in Latin America to join these efforts. Thank you very much.